Welcome back to my hot kitchen. I'm Wendy, and you and I are cooking up a wicked good feast for your next romantic date night at home. On the menu tonight, we have vegetarian stuffed peppers playing the role of the appetizer. For the main course, we'll have roasted chicken with mushrooms in sherried cream sauce and butter and almond pilaf. So let's get started on those stuffed peppers first. What you want to find is a nice big bell pepper, one that is going to lay flat no matter what way you put it. Because what you're going to do is slice it lengthwise and clean out the core. Just reach in there with your fingers and sort of scoop out any white or seeds that you see. You can also use your knife to help you along with that. Don't worry about the stem. You're going to want that in there so that your stuffing stays in the pepper during the baking process. There you go. And then repeat with the other one. You can use any colors bell pepper that you like. I really favor red bell peppers. I love the sweetness and the flavor and the color, so that's what I'm using. And then it's over here to the saute pan to get the mushrooms going. So what you're going to need is a nice warm saute pan. Set it on medium to medium-low temperature. Love it up with a little bit of olive oil. Get that olive oil heated up. And then take 2 to 3 mushrooms that you've minced up pretty finely and drop them in that hot olive oil. To that also add a couple scallions and start sauteing it. Typically, well, in my experience anyway, stuffed peppers have sausage or some sort of ground meat in them. So I'm going to be substituting the mushrooms for that. In order to get that flavor captured, I'm going to need to give it a little saute first. And while they're sauteing, I'm going to season them up. I really favor garlic salt. It's plain and simple and straight to the point for this, and a nice amount of fresh ground pepper. Just when the mushrooms show me that they've started to cook like they are right now, I'm going to go ahead and add in the 1 small tomato that I diced up and pulped. I'm going to mix that in right now too. Another reason to do the sauteing at this point is because the mushrooms and the tomatoes contain a high amount of water, and the saute helps to release that and evaporate it so that you get a more rich, dense result in your stuffed pepper. Let's give it a little taste here and see how it's coming along. Very good. Well seasoned and delicious. So I'm going to pull it out of the saute pan, put it in a nice heat-proof mixing bowl here. And then I'm going to take it back over here and mix it with my other fun ingredients. So I'm going to be mixing in 1 small carrot that I've grated up. And I'm also going to add a ½ cup of grated cheese. My cheese of choice this week is a nice chipotle cheddar. Adds a little spice, adds richness, adds meltiness and yumminess. Also about 1/8 cup of unseasoned breadcrumbs. That's going to help to absorb the rest of the liquids that are present in the vegetables. Stir it all together. Yummy. Then once you have a nice uniform mixture, go ahead and fill your peppers. I always like to use my hands for stuff like this. I just get a better result. I'm gonna pack it in there. Those look really good. Just the right amount to fill this pepper. Mound it up a little bit, make the presentation nice. And then put it over here in a little baking dish. And then on to the next step that's going to make these stuffed peppers something really special. So what you're going to need is equal parts of water and white vinegar, approximately equal parts anyway. Probably going to need about a cup's worth if you're working with a small baking pan like this. 1/8 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt. What you want to do is just whisk these all together. See, this stuffed pepper recipe calls for cooking these in a bit of a brine, so the outside of the pepper gets pickled just a little bit. Whisk the salt, the sugar, and the vinegar, the water together until all the ingredients are completely dissolved, and then pour it in around the peppers. You want to almost fill the baking dish. Leave a little bit of room. That's for you so that you don't spill it on yourself or in your oven. Add several bay leaves to it. and a nice little mix of allspice and black peppercorns, and just kind of lay those around in there. And then these are ready to go in the oven. I have my oven set pretty hot. It's at 400 degrees. And I'm going to carefully place this in the oven so as not to spill the brine. And it's going to need to bake for 20 to 25 minutes, or until you see that the brine has come to a boil. Well, I'm pretty sure these little stuffed peppers are done, and that's great because I'm really hungry. Got both my oven mitts here because this guy's going to be hot and dangerous. Oh, yummy. Woo! Almost had a problem. And now it's time to serve these up. They smell really good. The pickling liquid, the brine, is really rich and intense in flavor and aroma. Use some tongs to pull these little guys out. Yum. Oh, I can't wait for my sweetie to enjoy these. Yummy. Where is my dinner plate?
What is that?
Hi. Oh, I made you. Hi. Made you very gourmet stuffed peppers. You're gonna grab some silverware for us? Yay. Probably still be really hot. Really good. You like that?
Holy cow, that's so good. Let's call the other room.
Okay. Well, those were amazing. Nice little substitute for a salad to start off a dinner like that. So now the appetizer's done, I'm gonna go ahead and roll into dinner. So what I have here are 6 nice drumsticks, chicken drumsticks. And I have a nice amount of chili powder and a little pinch of dried rosemary. And I'm gonna begin by breaking up the dried rosemary with my fingers, sort of crumbling it. And then tossing it in with the chili powder. Blending them together to make them yummy. And then just simply sprinkling them over the top. Sprinkle it all on there at once. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of olive oil and drizzle that over the drumsticks as well. And then I'm just going to rub the spices onto this delicious chicken. Now the whole reason that I'm using drumsticks is because I like the flavor of the dark meat to contrast the creaminess of the sauce and the mushrooms that it's going to go along with. Give it a little loving rub here, make sure those spices are all over each and every nook and cranny of the chicken. You can also substitute chicken breasts, or you could use the same spice rub for a whole roasted chicken recipe if you prefer. Now I'm going to wash my hands. So I was just handling the raw chicken. And then we're going to slow roast this chicken. So I have my oven set at 310 degrees, a nice low temperature. It's really simple. Just going to slide them in there, let them cook. They'll take about 35 to 40 minutes, and then they'll be beautiful and perfect. Nice and juicy. They'll have a nice sear on the skin as well. So while that gets going, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the butter and almond rice pilaf. I have 3 tablespoons of butter here, and I have a preheated saute pan. Put that in there and get it melting, get it happy. Want to see a nice little happy bubble. A little browning of the butter is quite all right as well. While the butter's melting, I'm going to go ahead and add my 3 cloves of garlic, coarsely chopped. Get that all happy in the butter. And then once I see the butter's all melted and the garlic's just starting to brown a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add the almonds next, a 1/4 cup of sliced almonds. You can also use chopped almonds or whole almonds, whatever you like, whatever you have on hand. Give it a love in the butter here. This rice is going to be delicious. It's going to be rounded out with the butteriness, enhanced with the toasted almonds. 3/4 cup of long grain rice. I prefer to use jasmine or basmati for a nice pilaf. Love it up in there, and I just want to saute this rice until I see that some of the grains have turned opaque and white. Well, that smells really good. You can smell the almonds becoming very aromatic. The rice is turned opaque for the most part. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir in a ½ teaspoon of salt and about a teaspoon of dried basil. Get that all mixed in there first. And then I'm going to add the water. And then we're done for a little bit. I add about 1 1/4 cups of water. Bring it up to a boil. It's actually pretty much there. So I'm going to reduce my heat, drop it down to a nice low simmer, put a lid on it. So that's going to take about 20 minutes to cook. Keep an eye on it. Don't let it boil over. Keep the heat nice and low. Now it's time to get the mushrooms and sherried cream sauce going. So what you want to do is start with a nice pre-warmed saute pan, a little bit of olive oil in there. You can also use butter if you like, although the heavy cream is going to add a lot of fat and richness and butter fat to the sauce anyway, so that's why I'm using the olive oil. Next step is about 1/4 of an onion that you've diced up into the oil. And what you want to do with this particular recipe is just sweat the onions. So that means keep it at a nice low, medium-low temperature and cook them until they are translucent. Try not to brown them. If you start to notice a little bit of browning, take them off the heat, give it a couple seconds, and then return it to a lower temperature. Sweating is a great way to enhance the sweetness of the onion. It also provides cooking of the onion without browning up or darkening of your sauce. So I'm just going to periodically move these around the pan a little bit, keep them evenly cooking. These tasty little onions are just to the point where I like to see them, where the thinner pieces are starting to turn clear, and the darker pieces are just barely starting to show translucency around their edges. So I'm going to add just a little thickener to the sauce, a little sprinkling of flour. That's probably about 1/4 teaspoon or so. I'm just going to stir that in here, and what I want to do is just see it dissolve. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the mushrooms. Now it's not such a big deal that the mushrooms get browned in this particular recipe. Just want them to take on the flavor of the onion and the olive oil, so more of a fold is in order. Give them a little love. They're really going to cook in the sauce, and that's what's going to make them delicious. If you saute them too much in this step, then you'll have mushy mushrooms. Use a very gentle touch with this step so the mushrooms maintain their shape and their integrity. When you start to smell it becoming very aromatic, that's when you want to add 1/4 cup of sherry. Any nice sherry will do. Quick little scrape to the bottom of the pan here. You want to glaze and pull up all the flavor that has accumulated on the bottom of the pan. And then add 1/4 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of heavy cream. I find that I need to usually scrape it out if I pre-measured it into a dish like I did tonight, because the heavy cream holds onto the sides very well. Another loving little stir here, and then season it to taste with a little salt. Because it's a white sauce, use white pepper if you have it, just the tiniest little pinch. There we go. And just a little bit of grated allspice. You can also use nutmeg if you don't have allspice in your kitchen. Another little loving stir here. Increase your heat and bring it up to a simmer. Cook it until it's thick and gorgeous. You can cook this uncovered, and then there'll be one more step to it before it's all done that you'll do right before dinner. Oh, hi there, beautiful little mushrooms. You look like you're ready for the last step. So the last step going to be a little chiffonade of spinach or some other sort of green that you like. Just grab a nice handful, gather them all together on your cutting board and kind of roll them up as best you can. Just cut nice, long, thin strips. A little chiffonade. And then just drop it all in there. Give it a nice little fold. The heat from the sauce is going to wilt the spinach. So tasty. And then take it off the heat. I bet the chicken's done, so let's go ahead and get that out of the oven too. Oh, now that looks delicious. Smells really good. Looks nice and juicy, full of flavor, just the way I like it. So let's go ahead and get these plated up now. Give the pilaf a little loving fluff before you serve it. Yum. Wow, that looks really good. I'm liking how that's smelling. Your sweetie's gonna really dig on this. It's a nice simple meal, not too expensive to make, really gourmet in flavor. And then, bring on these yummy little drumsticks. One of the fun things about drumsticks is how they stack up. Also, they're just full of flavor and lusciousness. Dark meat's fun to work with. Then the mushrooms. Scoop those in next to the yummy chicken. I love the way the greens play off the white with the mushroom sauce. Looks so appetizing. And then pour the sauce around, drizzling just a little bit on top of the chicken. Okay. And with the simplest of ingredients and a little French technique, you just whipped up a wicked good feast for your romantic date night in. Now pair this up with a nice creamy white wine. I'd suggest a Chardonnay or something dry like a Palomino or even a sparkling wine. Now call in your sweetie. Till next week, Adrian. Some of this.
Too. Wow, that's delicious.
Oh, this is nice.
It is.
I love date night.
I love date night too. Wow.
Check out those mushrooms.
That's so good. This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night. Pet the kitties.